sports, and we felt that we really had to get big names from soccer. Well, those were all overseas people, and Pele was the biggest and the best.
In 1975, at a price of $7 million, Pele signed for the New York Cosmos. The NASL started to flourish.
Porque nos Estados Unidos eu tinha a oportunidade de estudar, porque eu queria estudar marketing esportivo, eu queria que meus filhos tivessem inglês. E a outra coisa também que era muito importante, que o campeonato americano era 5, 6 meses no máximo. E não tem a pressão que é jogar na Europa e jogar aqui no Brasil.
Even at 34, Pele was still in a class of his own.
No começo eu sofri muito com o Cosmo, porque o Cosmo perdia muito, que era um time de quase garotos de colégio.
During halftime of Pele's first game with the Cosmos, Pele came into the dressing room and asked us not to pass him the ball that often because he was getting exhausted.
In 1977, Pele led Cosmos to the NASL title.
I think it was 77, Father's Day 77, when we saw the Cosmos outdraw the Yankees and Mets combined. I think it was playoffs in 1977 when we sold out the stadium on a regular basis, standing room only, 78,000, which had never been done even by the Giants. And then a couple of moments, some really major games where we actually played well.
Confidence was at an all-time peak.
This league will become as big as the NFL is, and that this country, North America, will become the center of world soccer.
Following the success of New York Cosmos, who had attracted Warner Brothers as their backers, the NASL expanded to 24 teams. The problem was the Cosmos were the exception rather than the rule. The 6 new owners who had been wooed by the sight of a packed Yankee Stadium had entered into soccer for a quick dollar. But by the early 1980s, the NASL experiment began to falter.
Many of the owners got concerned about the increasing costs, and one by one they decided that it wasn't going to happen as soon as they liked it to happen. Success wouldn't come early.
In 1984, the league folded. The legacy? A whole generation brought up on soccer.
E você vê que hoje os Estados Unidos tem um futebol, o nosso soccer, entre os jovens, é um dos maiores esportes nos Estados Unidos. E eu me orgulho muito de ter incentivado isso lá nos Estados Unidos.
The inaugural game of Major League Soccer is presented by...
On the heels of the huge financial success of the 1994 World Cup, for the third time in American history, a new professional soccer league, Major League Soccer, was launched in 1996.
MLS isn't as successful as the NASL was in its best days. MLS may never be as successful as the NASL was in its best days. You know, among other things, they couldn't possibly sign the players that we signed. They have tremendous advantages. Years of soccer being thought of as an American sport now. Soccer moms, you know, electing presidents, and suburbs full of kids playing soccer, and commercials on television using a soccer ball or soccer players as an image depicting typical American life. Now, typical American life is soccer. You know, that's like saying we're all going to start speaking Swahili tomorrow. You know, I mean, it's just unthinkable.
The culture of football in the States survived by adapting itself to the American way of life. The passion and support found in the rest of the world just doesn't quite exist in the same way. But it is a culture that refuses to be destroyed.
I think if we're conservative and don't lose our minds on thinking that we've got to bring a bunch of foreign players in, I think the sport can grow. I'm seeing definite signs that the American male players are becoming more competitive, more able to hold their own We're not going to win the World Cup right away, but maybe sometime in the lifetime of my children, the United States will be able to compete at that high level.
On the other side of the world, in Iran, football has also had to fight a battle for recognition, this time in a society dominated by fundamentalist religious doctrines. Following the Islamic Revolution of 1979, football struggled for acceptance in a culture that was initially hostile. 19 years on from the revolution, football reached the high table of cultural life in this Islamic state with the national team's qualification for France '98. For the first time since the revolution, religious leaders admitted that they lost control of the streets as men and women celebrated. The United Kingdom had enjoyed healthy political and economic relations with Persia at the turn of the 20th century, and with a consulate in 22 Iranian cities, football was a familiar sight around the country.
وقتی فوتبال وارد شد، جماعت تهرانی که ندیده بودن تو عمرشون آدمایی با شلوارک‌های کوتاه دنبال یه چیز گرد بدوئن، خیلی تعجب کردن. برای اونا این بازی کافرانه بود، یعنی به عنوان گناه کبیره ابتدا ازش یاد می‌کردن.
It was a game, however, that slowly gripped the imagination of one of the oldest civilizations in the world. The ancient capital of Persepolis, lending its name to a team that was to become the most popular in the country. Royal patronage was forthcoming, and in 1925, the Tehran club played and beat a British colonial team with the Reza Shah in attendance. He didn't believe that defeat could be in the blood of Iranians. The real revolution of Iranian football took place when the Reza Shah's son took over in 1941. Under the European-educated king, the modernization of Iran became a major priority. He saw football as the most popular medium of this westernization. Before taking over the crown, the young prince even had his own team. The football stars of the day would have to come to the palace to play.
خودش فوتبال بازی میکرد و فوتبالیستای خیلی قدیمی ما تعریف میکردن برامون که ما هفته یه بار با تیم دربار مسابقه میدادیم. البته زیاد حق دریبل یا نزدیک شدن به شاه یا تکل زدن یا حتی گاهی پیروز شدن بر تیم اونا رو نداشت.
By the late 1960s, Iran had become unbeatable in Asia. In 1968, they beat Israel in the final of the Asian Cup in Tehran. That they were even playing Israel speaks volumes for the political climate in Iran at the time. Fated by the Shah during his birthday celebrations that year, the national team went on to defend their title in 1972 and 1976, winning every match they played in the competition over a period of 8 years. In 1978, Iran capped their dominance in Asia when they qualified for the World Cup finals, but they found it tough going in Argentina. Against Holland, they gave away 2 penalties, numerous free kicks, and lost 3-0.
همچین برخوردایی که در ایران میشد مثلا پنالتی نمیگرفتن، یعنی این پنالتیایی که اونجا گرفتن تازه ما فهمیدیم که چه توپایی پنالتی میگیرن که در ایران شاید شدیدتر از اونو نمیگرفتن. فقط این بود، نه به خاطر ضعف دفاع و ضعف بازیکن‌های دیگر گلر اینا نبود، فقط به خاطر اون آموزش صحیح رو که داورای ما نداشتن به بازیکن‌ها انتقال بدن، فقط به خاطر همین مسئله بود ما گلای زیادی رو از نقطه پنالتی.
The highlight of Iran's first World Cup outing was a creditable 1-1 draw with Scotland. But at the peak of Iran's domination of Asian football, sport was washed aside by the arrival of the Islamic Revolution. The Ayatollah Khomeini, who had spent 15 years in exile, returned home whilst the Shah fled. His pursuit of Western ideals disappeared into exile with him. It was back to fundamental Islamic principles and